Hello, I'm Alan Morinis, and I'm here today to talk to you about journaling as a Mussar practice. In the early days of the Mussar movement, which dates back to the mid-19th century, though there are some antecedents even before that, journaling was something that all the major teachers spoke about and in fact did, and some of their journals have even come down to us. The idea of journaling really nests within a broader concept of practice within the Mussar tradition, which is the notion of cheshbon hanefesh, doing an accounting of the soul, which is really a matter of introspection and self-understanding, because any guidance one is going to give for further development really depends on having an accurate understanding of where you are today. So the idea of accounting for the inner life, doing an accounting, taking the accounts of your inner life, is a notion that actually dates back to the 11th century, but became a formal practice of journaling in the 19th century with the Mussar movement. The core idea of journaling is based on the general practice of working on one midah, one soul trait every week. Sometimes people work on the same soul trait for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but in general, all Mussar teachers agree you should be working on one trait at one time. And the general practice is that in the evening, you look back over the day, and in a journal, and that journal can be something nice like that with a pen holder, or something very simple that you could get at the local drugstore, or something even simpler, just a little notebook like that. I tend to use things like that. I know people use even more elaborate books, or journals, diaries. And also, the Mussar Institute is happy to provide some formal pages that you can download and print out. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to find those. Working on one midah at one time, in the evening, you look back over the day and record in simple descriptive form what happened in that day that reflected that midah. It could be something where you fulfilled it to your aspirations, or you didn't, or somebody else did. You got angry, or someone got angry at you, or you saw the temptation to get angry and you didn't get angry, or whatever it might be. And the point is awareness. The point is to be able to record it with clarity what actually happened, so you become a seasoned and skilled observer of your own inner experience with clarity and understanding. The point is not to evaluate. It's not to say, I did a good job because or I was terrible, and then beat yourself up. That's not the point. The point is to bring to awareness the patterns of feeling and thought and speech and behavior that are true. And through that reflection, you become more aware of who you actually are in real terms. One of the things about keeping a journal is that the practice is itself a major part of the outcome, in the sense that being consistent with the practice reveals things which would not come to your attention if you only wrote down things in the journal when something major happened. The reality is that the things that are latent within us, where midot have the potential to trip us up, or conversely, we have the potential to grow in that midah, those things show up in some major things that happen in our lives. You can usually attribute many of the things that happen in your life to midot. But the reality is that those things show up in minor ways, little episodes that reveal those tendencies before something major happens. And I liken it to the way earthquakes work, which is that earthquakes happen along major fault lines in the geological structure. And every so often there are major earthquakes, but those major earthquakes happen along lines where leading up to them, and maybe for years at a time, there are little tremors. And those little tremors happen on a regular basis, and they reveal where the fault line is. And there will be a big one, or there could be a big one. And here's where the metaphor breaks down, because unlike the rigid geological structure of the earth, the inner life of a human being is much more malleable, and the work we do on ourselves can actually avoid those big ones. Ignoring the fault lines in our inner life invites an earthquake. But paying attention, and that's where the journaling comes in, every evening paying attention to the little tremors that happen in regard to whatever quality you're working on at that time, that becomes the basis for understanding and then subsequently working on yourself so that that inner potential doesn't result in the kind of explosive outcome that we're all too familiar with in our lives, so often that can be traced back to an inner quality. The instructions for journaling are so simple, but I've learned through teaching this practice that there's a big difference between simple and easy. Simple, record in your journal every evening whatever happened that day that reflects that particular midah that you're working on. Easy? No, people complain all the time. I can't get to it, I'm too tired, nothing happened, I can't remember, I want to do something else. There are all kinds of reasons, and people run into these problems. Now, of course, from a Mussar point of view, it's just like anything else. These are the obstacles to spiritual growth that get thrown in our way. It's not easy. The most important thing is to be consistent in the practice at the beginning. If every evening you pick up your journal, and I showed you written journals, like paper journals. It can be an iPhone, it can be an iPad. The medium is not the point. What is the point is consistent recording. In the beginning, the most important thing is to develop the habit. As you develop the habit, things will come for you to write down. Every evening, it becomes a ritual, and that in itself creates the format for the introspection and then the awareness that comes through that. So, as a final tip towards journaling, what I'm going to say to you is this: because consistency is so important at the beginning, when you start and you're going to record things in your journal and you find you're too tired or you have resistance or you don't know what to write, I will give you a very simple assignment. Write your name. You can just write your name. And in fact, I'll make it even easier. If that seems too much, just write your initials, 2 letters. The reason is because what I'm encouraging you to do is to have awareness of the journal and to pick up the pen or go to the keyboard. The idea being, do it. Now, if you get in the habit of writing your name or even your initials, or give yourself permission to write just your initials, nevertheless, you will find yourself journal and pen or device and keypad, you'll have it in hand. And with that, you will begin to initiate that process of introspection and self-awareness that happens most effectively through keeping a written record of what you see and what you can understand of your own inner processes. Some people go back after a period of time and review their journals and see what they've learned and maybe even how they've grown. Other people feel it is just meant to be an activity in the moment, of the moment, and review is not necessary or desirable. That's not as important. The key is begin the practice, become consistent to the practice, and become a person who investigates the patterns of your own inner living, and that sets the stage for you to work towards being the person who is fulfilling the potential that you were given in this life. And I wish you well with your journaling.